the genocide in Darfur, and how it impacts women specifically.
And on a lighter note, the Twin Cities Birth and Baby Expo.
Welcome to It's a Woman's World, a show which looks at any and all topics under the sun from a woman's point of view. Featuring Aline Ithani, Eileen Moore, and Janine Stiles. Here to introduce our first guest is Janine.
Today we have Dr. Ellen Kennedy with us. She is the interim director at the Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies at the U of M. She promotes Holocaust and genocide education across Minnesota and the Midwest, and she is also the founder and director of the nonprofit organization World Without Genocide. She has received the 2004 Award for Higher Education Leader of the Year from the National Society for Experimental Education and the 2009 Outstanding Citizen Award from the Anne Frank Center in New York. Pretty impressive, Ellen.
Thank you.
Oh, and I can't forget to say she has two children, Jonathan, who lives in Minneapolis, and Louisa, who lives in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here.
You have a pretty impressive resume here. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, for the last 2 years, I've worked at the Center for Holocaust and Genocide Studies. And that really came about following a trip that I made to Rwanda in the summer of 2005. I was very interested in Rwanda. I had been teaching about it in my role as a sociology professor for several years, and when an opportunity came to visit that country, I was very excited to go. I wanted to know what kind of long-term impact the genocide in Rwanda in 1994 had on the people there. So I went to Rwanda with a couple of other people. I was there for 2 weeks, and I met a young woman who traveled with us as our interpreter during that time. Her name is Alice Musabende, and Alice is the same age as my daughter Louisa, whom you just mentioned. At the time, Alice and Louisa were both 25 years old, and they're very much alike, these two girls. They both are very good in foreign languages, they were very good in school, but the similarities really ended there. Because of the accident of Alice's birth, the fact that she was born in Rwanda and Louisa was not, Alice's life has been very different from that of my Louisa. And I'll tell you a little bit about what happened to Alice. In 1994, Alice and Louisa were 14 years old. Alice grew up in a small community in Rwanda. And one day, her mother asked her to go to the next village on an errand to her cousin's house. Alice went, and her mother had said, "Please come back after you pick up the papers from your cousins. Come right back home." Well, Alice, as she likes to say, was a fairly strong-willed teenager, and I think most of us know several of them.
Yes.
And she didn't come right back home. She stayed overnight at her cousins because they had TV and her family did not. When she got back home the next day, she was the one to find the bodies of her grandparents, her parents, her 12-year-old sister, and her 9-year-old and 2-year-old brothers, victims of that 1994 genocide in Rwanda.
So she saved her own life.
She did indeed. She did indeed. And I became